Hi, I thought it might be helpful to go over a final draft of an essay that was for the final exam, and sort of some of the comments or observations I would make and things I would want to point out. So this student, I changed the name, wrote about the third option, the comparison option, and in it she started with the general statement about literature. I was a little taken back because she used a lot of I statements in here. She said, for example, earlier in this quarter, I was taught through the research of Claude Steele, and she sort of notes all three books and what she learned, and still talks like in the past tense about I learned to do this and that. So she didn't really need that. So that was a little bit off, but I liked how she reviewed each of them. And then she said, I liked this where she said both works were very influential. There's a run on here, but she said, and I learned to regard certain topics in a new light, and was given given vocabulary to experiences I once did not know how to describe. I thought that was a nice way of putting it. And then she kind of gives an example of the American dream and all of that. She makes a statement here. The graphic novel Monster was able to connect me to the topic of implicit bias in ways words could not. That was a nice way of introducing kind of the importance of the graphic novel. And then she talks about the visual features and then the film techniques, and gets down to her thesis statement. Through the use of film techniques, the graphic novel Monster allows a more comprehensive view on implicit bias. That one works just because, even though it doesn't list the other two, works because the sentence before does. So anyway, that worked well. Then what I do is I normally go through and look at all the topic sentences. So the first one says, in choosing to have the graphic novel in black and white, the art allows for the removal of racial bias. Okay, so she's talking about the graphic novel in black and white. So I look at the film techniques. I think, okay, how is she going to use black and white with film? And the next sentence says, apart from adding some dramatization and a film noir feel, the use of black and white throughout the novel asks for readers' concentration to shift. And so she sort of uses that and talks a little bit about film, but mostly about the artwork. Okay. But she gives a lot of good examples here. One thing I want to point out that she did wrong is that here where she says, or the singular piece of art on page 59 right here, you don't want to do that. You want to say, or when Harmon, when the visual shows Harmon family in pain over their son's current situation, and then in parentheses she should have the number 59. So that would be one of the changes that she should have made. But the other topic sentences, by using high and low angle camera film techniques, readers can be influenced emotionally and realize the presence of implicit bias in Steve's case. So that's good, and she gives examples for that. She did put the page number the right way this time. And then the next one, the graphic novel Monster allows for deep insight on the topic of implicit bias through use of visual techniques. And so the visual techniques here, she mentions it being in black and white. She mentions the use of camera angles and such. So this last one is sort of the wrap up for her conclusion. So she has one, two, yeah, so she has her intro, and then she's got one and two major paragraphs, and then her third paragraph, then she has her conclusion. So it's only a 4-paragraph essay. However, she did get 1,233 words, and she's on page 4. So this would be fine lengthwise for me if this was how it turned out. She has a lot of analysis. There were some typos that you see mentioned, or missing commas and things, and the page numbers were off. But it's very clear she read and she thought deeply about this, about the book, and was able to kind of connect it to the experiences compared to the other books. What I did notice is that the middle sections did not have the comparison. So she used the comparison for the intro, but she primarily just used Monster for the film techniques. So this kind of threw me a little bit because I thought initially that she was going to do the comparison one, and then as I read through, I realized that she didn't. She actually just did the graphic novel. Or the film techniques in the graphic novel. So when I reviewed this as far as structure and organization, I said that there wasn't a clear unity or focus on that piece. And so she ended up receiving, she ended up getting an 88%, 89%, really close to an A. Because there was a lot of good content here, a lot of good development, but there was just a few things overall that were off as far as what it didn't match, like the intro didn't fully match with what was then in the body paragraphs. So that gives you an example a little bit of what we're looking for. Again, you know, she did fewer paragraphs, but she got way past the page length and word count. So that was helpful in letting me feel like it was okay that she didn't do that number of paragraphs. So hopefully that was helpful. I look forward to talking more about this in class. Thanks.